Good afternoon. I don't know. It is my honor to really welcome you to Stonehill. This is quite a gathering before me, but it is just great that you're here. And I thank Lee so much for putting this conference together every year. It's such an opportunity for us to learn so many from all of you, bringing so many different experiences, so many different contexts, backgrounds, jobs, and to bring those together into this conference and to think about how we might collaborate in different ways going forward. You know, at Stonehill, we're so thankful that I think some of our students are here and have been working with Lee to help coordinate the conference. If you're a student, just raise your hand so we can see who's here. Okay, great, good. Thanks. They have so much to learn, okay? So feel free to share with them and to make this such a successful conference. But again, thank you for being here. I bring you official greetings also from our president, Father John Denning, who could not be present. And we're so happy that you're here, and I hope it is a wonderful next 3 hours. So again, welcome.
I have students who are going to be your moderators and co-hosts for tonight. This summit was planned by a number of students from two classes that I teach here. One is Sociology, Community Organizing 328. Dean Rochelet is here of the Sociology Department. And also Business 257. Dean Salvucci could not be here from the business department. So those are the students who will be your co-host and your greeters and whatever we need them to do to make this successful for you. So we really thank them and applaud them for their commitment and their willingness to learn how to put these massive gatherings together. So without further ado.
Immigration and voting, citizenship, and poverty, and women empowerment, and wellness, health and wellness. I've been participating in this conference for the past, I think, 4 years now, but I've worked with Miss Lee for a while, and I wouldn't miss this for anything.
I'm here from Preston, Maryland, and I'm a farmer. I produce food. And I'm also a community activist and an educator, and I'll be telling you some things about what we do in Maryland later on in the program. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Donna Deere, and I'm from Maryland as well. We are co-owners of a farm, and we grow food.
I come this evening from Philadelphia. I represent. We have one Philly. Thank you. I am with the International Ministries, and my focus is mission and empowering women and men to look at where God is calling you to serve. So really understanding and hearing God's call into ministry. So you stay with us, you'll hear more about mission, about service, about call, and how does God fit into all of these injustices and social justice, and knowing that Jesus was a community organizer and stirrer and nudger and all of that. So, amen. Thank you.
I'm a community organizer. I've worked with homelessness, youth, education, different topics. Right now I'm just mostly focusing on battling this cancer and surviving and fighting. So I'll be in charge of health and wellness. So come see me in one more time.
Hi, I'm Barbara Anderson. I'm from Arlington, Massachusetts. I'm a newbie. This is my first time at the Women's Summit, so I'm really appreciative of the invitation. I founded and I lead an organization called All Hands In, and we work on local issues of human trafficking and with survivors and a lot of advocacy and educational awareness.
Hi, my name is Shay. I'm in Boston. I have a hard time saying that, not being originally from Boston, but I realize I've been in Boston for over 40 years, so I guess I've been in Boston longer than I was where I grew up. I wear many hats, and it looks like the hat I'm wearing today is the health and wellness hat, and I'm sure that has something to do with the combination of me being a dancer and someone who is now physically challenged, who was not physically challenged. But I also am a community worker, meaning I'm a community change maker. I'm a philanthropist, and by philanthropist, no, I do not have a lot of money to give you, sorry. I actually looked that word up in the dictionary, and you know what? The first definition of philanthropy, a philanthropist is someone who does social welfare. And they don't mean social welfare as in, come get this check. They mean making sure that society is faring well. So in that sense, yes, I'm a philanthropist, but I do manage a grassroots small grants program where I give away other people's money. And since part of my personal goal is to make sure community folks, can control and lead whatever it is that we're trying to do, I have a resident panel that makes those decisions for this foundation that I'm doing this work for. So in that sense, yes. Okay, I think that's it.
I am originally from Honduras, and my passion is to work with immigrant women and workers' rights on workers' rights issue and immigrant rights issue. Here locally in Brockton, we have a new worker center for every worker, especially women that are going through so many different abuses, exploitation, and they have nowhere to go, especially right now during this immigration crisis. Thank you.
Good afternoon or good evening. I want to start by acknowledging the fact that today, March 27th, is Cape Verdean Women's Day. Pilgrim, and like my sister Shay said, I wear many hats. I guess all of us do. But I'm representing UMass Boston, where I teach Africana Studies and Transnational Cultural and Community Studies. I also have a youth program in Brockton called Sabura, and I'm the co-founder of the Poderosa Women's Conference. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Karen Watkins-Watts. And I work with the Brockton Public Schools. And my daily work is in writing grants and developing resources for our very diverse public school system and closing those achievement gaps that our students oftentimes face. So we'll be upstairs, right, one floor up in the lounge. And today is actually a pivotal day as we honor Linda Brown, who was the plaintiff for the Brown versus the Board of Education. And also, we were featured, Brockton was featured last Sunday in the Boston Globe for some of the disparities that in education funding. So we'll have a lively discussion.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie Griffiths. This is my 5th year participating in the Women's Leadership Summit, and also the South Shore Leadership Conference that usually follows this. I'm a community organizer from the Boston area, recently moved out to Bridgewater, and I have a background in community organizing around gentrification, focusing on housing, jobs, and public education and the impact gentrification has on our communities. For the past 2 years, I've shifted a little bit and began to focus solely on Black organizing. And so I've been doing national and local Black organizing, and most recently supporting communities around issues of immigration and jobs, and helping to uplift the presence of Black immigrants in the conversation around immigration, and also helping to protect Black immigrants. I recently started my own nonprofit, my own consulting company, trying to support nonprofits around organizational infrastructure and overall wellness, because it is a big framework of what we bring and what you'll hear tonight. Women, we contribute so much, but we really have to learn how to be well in doing that. So, thanks.
Cynthia was someone who traveled the world and did social justice work and all kinds of kind of activities that uplifted the human soul, the human spirit. She was located in the South, in Durham, North Carolina. She was one of the first people who, in this country, who led a Truth and Reconciliation Committee in Greensboro for the Greensboro 25. She was also former council lady in Durham, North Carolina, and ran for Congress to replace Jesse Helmsley. We were all so saddened and still, meet her loss with such great depth. So we want to share with you some special moments of Cynthia for those of you who did not know her and for those who might want to kind of relish in the things that really excited her. You'll see a slideshow that's a very short slideshow of photographs of some of her very favorite sayings. And so I'm going to ask Mary Kay. And I have to say that at the very end, pay close attention to the credits because this slideshow was put together by students from Sociology 328 and Business 257, and they did a fabulous, magnificent job.
We cried, we were angry together. It was just one of those things where it really, I tell people all the time, this, what the devil meant for evil, God really used it for my good. Seriously, like, I'm in such a better place mentally, physically than I've been in years. You know, I want to live now more than I've ever wanted to live before. And I just felt like, you know, I think for so long I was knocking on, you know, on Deb's door. It was almost like I was like, you know why you're knocking so much? Let me open it. I'm like, maybe not. Let me rethink this for a minute, you know? But cancer was truly what, I feel like it was like my intervention. It really was. Because if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would be. I would still be, you know, that little mouse, you know, going around, just never stopping, you know, and my kids just growing and just a vicious cycle. But now, you know, just the other day, you know, I was like, wow, I have the time. I get massages, I get facials, you know, I have time for things. I go to the movies, I have time for my kids. It's just so much came out of just one diagnosis. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. I really am. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be here, to be able to tell other women about, especially like me being Haitian. You know, I grew up watching my mom, you know, having 2 to 3 jobs. You know, that's just how I saw it done. Like, I have a rule. You know, when I come around people, you have to see me. Like at 99, you have to see me at my daughter's wedding. I tell them all the time. I'm like, I don't have time for the crying. All the self-pity, I don't have time for it. You're either gonna pray for me, or you're not gonna pity me. That's my rule. You know, it's important how you speak about me, how you speak to me, because when you speak into the cancer. So speak positivity, speak, you know, wealth, health, and good things, because how you see me is what's going to manifest. So it's really important. So when I attend groups and I hear other cancer survivors, just the way they're speaking, not realizing that how important it is to speak life into this cancer. You know, you just have to. You have to fight. I had chemo on Friday, and yesterday I was in bed all day. I didn't feel good at all. But today I was, you know, grateful that I was able to just put some lipstick on, put on a dress, and be here and just, you know, just feed off this energy. Again, that's my other way of fighting, just keeping busy. Because I don't have, my mom, if it was up to her, I'd be in bed all day, every day, and I can't. To me, that's not how I want to fight this. Because I want to live, you know, and the way I live is by educating and talking and sharing my story with other women.
How can we bring more resources so you know, mothers don't need to work 2 and 3 jobs because rents are so high, and so many things like, you know, the basics needs in the communities are not met, but yet, you know, someone is lobbying to have all these billions of dollars for something that, you know, is not, you know, is breaking families apart. It's very heartbreaking to see people being deported every day, children at the JFK building being deported every day on Tuesdays, 11 from 11 to 18 years old being deported just because, you know, the parents are being deported. So we're seeing so many families being, you know, torn apart because of a system. And yet we need to be educating the communities. We need to be building community. We need to be sharing these stories because a lot of people do not know that this is happening every day. You know, we have to be good listeners as well and learn from other people and be able to be an open mind to learn from everything, from whatever they come from. Because, you know, when the struggle hits you, it doesn't matter where you come from, where you are, how much education you have and everything. And so we're every day trying to build community with everybody, wherever they come from, whatever is their struggle. We are here, you know, out of love, helping and building a community. And this is, you know, where I come from.
As women, I feel like, you know, my whole career in doing social justice work, which I must say started before I even knew what organizing was or that there was an arena called social justice. I just knew that I ended up in this country and things were not there.
And I also knew that I had the privilege of having a global perspective because I came from a country where things were really not fair, and a lot of the unfairness was caused by the United States. And even though I was here, I had to own it, and I became part of a movement that was naming things for me like capitalism. I remember when I would go home being a Jamaican, I'd talk to my father about capitalism when I was first, starting to get a lot of politicized, and he, shh, don't say anything bad about capitalism. Capitalism's why we're here. If it wasn't for capitalism, we wouldn't be here. And so I also realized that everything that we were experiencing, whether it was around jobs, housing, just as poor people, was political. And there was a period of time where we really had to focus on the class analysis of that because, through the civil rights movement, we focused so much on race that we weren't able to unify ourselves through class. I feel like we're back at the moment again where we need to pull back a little bit from the class and impose a racial and a gender analysis. I was involved with movements that at times felt so unnatural for me, or it was really hard for me to include my folk, like people in my community that were poor. I needed to include them in the work I was doing, and I couldn't because it didn't look anything like them. We were going downtown, they yell at empty buildings on the weekend with no one in them, and people were saying who would get arrested, and we were staging arrests, and like our struggle looked nothing like that. I was going home and young people were dying and people still were hungry and nobody had adequate housing or jobs, and it just couldn't look the same anymore. And so I made a decision to focus solely on Black organizing, which in the Northeast is really an isolating space because not that many people are doing it. People are not even willing to name it that way, and funders weren't really looking to fund it until the whole movement sparked up. But I feel like as a Black immigrant woman, I have no choice. I feel like I've always been at the intersection, and I feel like organizing is very close to missionary work. I could have been in the faith justice one giving testimony as to how I feel like I was called to do this work. Yes, we're privileged sometimes to get paid for it, not often, but sometimes. But I feel like it's missionary work in some ways. And I feel like sometimes you have to get to the point where you're willing to step out on faith to actually truly get justice. This past year, I've had the liberty of working on the front lines of a national immigrant rights movement where we've been trying to uplift particularly Black immigrants nationally because this new administration, the attack is serious, and it's worse on communities that are not organized. And so it's really important to think about the people that are not uplifted. We mostly see our Latino communities in the immigrant rights struggle, and we talk about the borders for them, and but as a Black immigrant myself, sitting on the front lines at detention centers, being the police liaison, I couldn't explain to folks that I knew that were coming to pay canteen for their folks how it was for them, or people that looked like me that were immigrants that were being detained that we weren't even making a demand for. I couldn't explain to them how it was for them. And so that's when I made this shift, and I think that it's important to that movements look like the people that are impacted, be led by them, even if it means we make mistakes. I think that there has to be, people have to be able to tap into whatever faith exists for them, because there's no way we step up and do things without being able to do that, and they need the space to do that. And I also know that there's so much work that we have to do.
About faith, it is not unusual for, if you reach out to your pastor or priest or priestess, that you get the no. That it is really more common that it is not spoken from the pulpit. And that's what, as an ordained person and a bold one, it is important to talk about it and to share. I mean, sex trafficking is one topic. Okay, so a lot of the taboos, and I see a lot of head shaking, that we need to be able to talk about that. Because it is happening in the pews, it's happening in our homes, it's happening in our schools, it's happening it touches us. Yes. And if we're not addressing it from the pulpit, then I want to really empower you to ask questions and raise it in your various congregations, houses of worship, whether your house of worship is at home, or whether you have access to maybe the pastor's spouse, or you belong to a group, a women's group, or Christian education. Our children are faced with it, okay? sex trafficking is in our schools. And we need to be able to address it. We can't just turn our heads and pretend that it is not happening. So as an ordained person, and I said I'm bold, because yes, I am bold.
She invited me to her church.
I did. Because as a pastor, Jesus has lent me the pulpit for a minute. It is up to me to invite topics that need to be spoken about from the pulpit and addressing and touching and planting seeds where, that's where I see, we may have a little bit of the leadership there. But the biggest leader is the one we reveal. So those topics, immigration, sex trafficking, human trafficking, labor trafficking, bondage, need to be addressed.
Noticing something in the neighborhood is wrong, what do they do, and how do they reach up to people like you?
If you Google human trafficking hotline, there is a hotline that is kept nationally through Polaris, which is an organization in Washington, D.C. And you can call that 800 number, you can explain what you've seen, and then they will work with local authorities more on that. So by coming from the human trafficking hotline, your law enforcement may, take that a bit more seriously than it's directly from you, would be my suggestion right off the bat.
We're blessed to be able to be the first generation born in my family and go on to own property. And they had the farm right next door to where we now live. As a matter of fact, where you saw Blaine and Aaliyah, that was on property that belonged to my great-grandparents. And so now, instead of having just the 100-plus acre farm that we have land now sprawling over to where my great-grandparents lived, which now is our land as well. But when we first moved there, we had no idea that we were going to be farmers. We purchased this land because we thought we were going to be land rich and build houses and subdivisions. Well, that didn't work. We just, oh my goodness. I think we bought it in 1994. And several people came to us and asked us if we would like to sell some property. They didn't know we had 2 farms. They thought we only had 1. So the money that they were trying to give us was only for 1 farm. But we never told them we had 2, because it was so much more money. But we decided not to sell. So we went on and we started farming, and we decided that we were going to grow watermelons like she said. Well, we did 10 acres. That's a lot of watermelons for 2 acres. It was a lot of watermelons, but we did have some help eventually. I think people felt sorry for us, so they began to help us. And, we gave them money, and we're kind-hearted ladies, so we did other things to help them and their families. But what happened was we started growing the melons, and then we started growing tomatoes, and then we started growing corn, which I'm not too good at growing corn. And I think it's because there are so many people on the Eastern Shore who really grow corn. And besides, mice like to get in cornfields. So when you take this year we're going to have about 100 acres of corn though, but that's because this year's corn is going to be organic. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, we were kind of growing the produce natural. But we didn't know anything about organic as such. We just knew that if we decided to go and use this term organic, we had to pay the state of Maryland some money, so that didn't appeal to us. And nobody could really tell us the difference between growing natural and growing organic, except we had to give like $300 or $400, so that didn't sound good to us. So we continued to do what I had seen my foreparents do, and that's grow natural. We didn't have Monsanto coming over and putting all kind of chemicals on our places. We just went out there and we grew all the products that we knew we needed to can for the winter, and eat for the summer. And those are the things that we did. I have a farm on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and I grow produce. He's been coming to the farm ever since. So this year he told me he wants 10,000 watermelons. That's the way my voice sounds when he says that. And he said he needs at least 10,000 and he wants to grow them on the farm. And so I said there are some things that we have to do that. Because first of all, to grow a watermelon, to 10,000 of them at least, I've never done it natural. You know, I always thought that I don't know how to do the 10,000 watermelons, I told him, the way that we grow food. But anyway, when we leave here, we're going to stop in New York and we're going to talk with him again, because the brother came to Maryland a few months ago, and he said he had been looking on the internet and he saw a farm not too far from us, and he said it was $400,000. And he said, do you think I should buy it? I said, do you know how to turn on a tractor? No. Well, then I don't know if that's what you need to do. I said, but we have tractor and all kind of implements and so forth, and we have the land. And maybe you might want to maybe grow 5,000 watermelons and learn how to do this so that you can do it yourself when you can no longer be here with Don and I. So that's the plan that we have this year, is that he's going to come down and he's going to bring some of his friends out of New York, and we're going to have a place for them to stay, probably one of the travel trailers where they can pull in and pull out. And they'll come down and they'll spend the summer. And then my nephew Blaine, he has another business that's connected to the agriculture, which is forestry and also building hoop houses. So when they're not in the farm, in the springtime and the summertime, they can be going all over the country building hoop houses with him in better climates, or climates that are more susceptible to them being able to sustain themselves. So out of that has come the opportunity for these young people to be able to learn about growing food. But I want to say this before you get into your little spiel. Because I looked up one day and he said, well, this is my brother. I'm bringing my brother down. And his brother had just gotten shot. I said, oh, Lord. So I said, well, he said, yeah, he had a little trouble. Wonderful young man. And then he brought another brother. This brother said he's in college, and he goes to college in Washington State. I said, have you been to jail too? And he said, yes, ma'am, I've been. But I'm out now, and I'm going to college. But he wants to come down too. So out of all of this, we're getting involved in, what was the term you used, Melanie? Melanie, what was the term? Re-entering citizens. Re-entering citizens, as opposed to ex-offenders. They want to come and learn how to farm and how to grow food. And I think that it's a wonderful thing, because they're obviously business people, because they made, you know what they were selling, so they made lots of money. So they must be wonderful business people. So why not take their talents and put them to good use? And they can, and that's the big thing that we're trying to get done before we retire and go off into the sunset. There's a question.
Do you have an apprenticeship program that I could?
No, but you see, that what I'm saying to you is, this is what the Black Dirt Farm was doing, and bringing the young folks there, like the 85 folks that were there. They were all in the woods. AmeriCorps has been to us too, AmeriCorps workers. So if you get a group together and this is what you all would want to do, let's talk about that. Somebody just called me last week and wants to know if he could get, he wants to lease an acre of land so that he can grow sweet potatoes. I'm going to let him know you can grow the sweet potatoes, but you're going to be a part of the whole organization. You know, it's not about, you don't have enough money to lease it. So therefore, whatever you are growing, all of us will, will have it for our markets. But since you're a very good watermelon grower, a sweet potato grower, I know it's time for us to go. You mean around there? You mean at my farm? Yeah, that's, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can go outside to a tent, but interesting enough, no, wait a minute, interesting enough, all those folks who came from Mississippi, they came from Mississippi. They had to be in a motel. They said they were not sleeping outside. I said, but we don't have those kind of snakes here. In the South, you got those deadly snakes. Yeah, no, but right now, we don't have a place right around in our, it's about 10 miles, it's a place called Easton, and I don't mean Massachusetts, Easton, Maryland. And they have motels, but you can always throw a tent up. Yeah, yes, thank you.
People slept in tents on the peripheral of the woods.
Or bring your mobile home, I mean your travel trailer.
They slept in tents that ran along the creek that runs through the woods, and they just put tents up everywhere. In the woods, by the water, on the outside of the woods.
By the field.
And you would enjoy it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.